Hello, students. Hope all of y'all are doing well. Y'all are all fine at home. So, it's a good opportunity that we are learning online through online classes. A special thanks to Pillai sir for making arrangements in such a way that we could convey our knowledge to you all in a very safe and sound manner. Lucky for us that we don't have to go out in the crowd and get exposed to this COVID virus. So, a big thanks to Pillai sir for arranging this class for us. I would like to dwell upon this poem, The Road Not Taken. It's a very important poem, not only as a chapter in your English textbook, but also a lesson for life. These poems actually teaches us a lesson for life if we really get into the deeper meaning. Every poem has a literal meaning and a metamorphic meaning. The metamorphic meaning has a deeper insight. We should know how to analyze the poem. Literature is such a thing that you are never wrong, no matter what is your answer. That is your viewpoint of understanding it, of visualizing it, of decoding it. Every person is a different individual, has a different insight, and come to a different conclusion. However, I would try to bring out my concept of this poem, The Road Not Taken. But before I dwell upon the poem, I would like to tell you something about the poet Robert Frost. Robert Frost is an American poet. However, he did not spend his entire life in America. As a poet, Robert Frost, as a young man, he came from a lower middle class family. He was not a very rich person, not a very affluent person. He was a poor teacher in some village school. He also had a very small farm. This poem, The Road Not Taken, somewhere reflects the conflict going on in the mind of the poet, in the mind of Robert Frost. At the time when Robert Frost used to write poetry, new poets were emerging and they were trying to find new ways of writing poems. And the new poets were soon gaining much popularity, and nobody was very keen, very interested in reading Robert Frost's poet or poems. I'm sorry, Robert Frost poems. So he was in a dilemma. Should he follow the beaten path that the other poets are writing, the way they are writing poetry, or should he write in his own unique way? Robert Frost's poems are very simple to read but difficult to comprehend because they are metamorphically very rich poems, and that is the reason why people at first were unable to understand his poetry. So he had decided to shift his base. Since he was not getting much uh, popularity in his own country, he wanted to go to England, and he did go to England. But there too, he did not meet with much great success. Yes, in England, the people did recognize him. His poetry gained recognition. The English people, the British people were able to understand and comprehend his poems. But his longing to get back to his own country brought him back to America. So, this poem tells us something about his own life, the decision that he had taken. He decides to follow the path which is less trodden. If we see the title of the poem, The Road Not Taken. The poem talks about the choice that the poet did not take. It is not talking about the choice that the poet took. It is talking about the choice that he has not taken. So we can see through the title itself that the poet has some sort of regret in his mind. काश मैंने यह रास्ता चुना होता तो, है ना, भविष्य तो किसी ने देखा नहीं है. Nobody can see the future. We can analyze, we can calculate, but it doesn't mean that future holds what we see. There are so many unseen things, but when we look back to our choices that we made, we can judge whether we have made the right choices or we have made some mistakes in life. But we cannot rectify those things. We cannot go back into history. We cannot go back into time. We are no Doraemons with that magic door, time door, where we can travel in the past or in the future. We have to live in the present, and it is the present that counts. So the poem here tells us about choices. Every individual, everybody, someday or the other, has to make a choice. We have to come to a conclusion. So this poem tells us all about our choices that we make and how one choice leads to another. One road leads to another. I will try to explain this poem to you stanza by stanza. The Road Not Taken. This well-known poem is about making choices and the choice that shapes us. Robert Frost is an American poet who writes simply but insightfully about common, ordinary experiences. Whenever we read poems, the poem must be read aloud. When we read the poem aloud, it becomes easy to comprehend, easy to understand. So, as I read for you all, I expect you all also to read along. Open your textbook to page number 15, The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down, one, as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. The poet is talking about a wood, a jungle. And what image comes to our mind when we read the first line? We can imagine the poet standing at a junction where the road forks into two. It diverges into two different paths. It is dividing itself. So the poet reaches a place in his journey. He comes to a wood, he comes to a jungle, and the jungle is yellow in color. Why is the jungle yellow in color? It is the season of falls. पतझड़ का समय है. It is a time when the trees are shedding their leaves. The entire jungle is yellow in color. It's a deciduous forest, because had it been a rainforest, the trees would be green. It's a deciduous forest where the trees shed their leaves during the summer time. When the summer begins, just before summer, the trees begin to shed the leaves. They turn yellow. This is the literal meaning of the first line, that the roads diverged in a yellow wood. The wood was looking yellow. But what is the metamorphical significance of the first line? it is talking about the poet's own life. The poet has reached a stage in his years, in his life, where he is now turning grey. Perhaps he is in his middle age, maybe in his late 40s or early 50s, where his hair has started to turn grey. He is turning old, like the leaves in the jungle. When the leaves turn yellow, it signifies the coming of an end of the leaf. The leaf is going to fall. So here the poet is talking about a stage where he has reached a particular age. He is no longer young. So if you see in the deeper meaning of the line, it tells us about the life of the poet when he is in his middle age, when he is in his early 50s or late 40s. And it is here he has to make a choice, he has to make a decision. He's come at such a junction where he needs to take a decision. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. The poet, he wants to tread on both these roads. He likes to travel on road A as well as he likes to travel on road B. But he knows that he cannot travel on two different roads at the same time. So he feels sorry about it. He is remorseful. He is sad that he cannot travel on both the roads. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. And sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller, long I stood. The poet says that he took his time before he came to a conclusion. He had given proper thought. So also in our lives, whenever we need to make a decision, we have to ponder, because the choice that we make will determine our future. We cannot rewind, we cannot replay. There is no second chance. Like many of us, we play our video games. Our character has a second life, but here we don't have a second life. We don't have a second chance. The choice that we make will shape our future. So we have to ponder over it. In the same way, the poet here, he gives a good thought before he decides on which road he should follow. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could. What does this line tell us? Perhaps if we see the literal meaning, he is standing at a particular road and seeing as far as he can see the road. But here what it literally means and what it metamorphically means are two different things. Metamorphically, or the deeper meaning of this line, is he's trying to look into the future. If he takes this path, what would be the outcome of his choice? How would it affect his career? How would it affect his family? How would it affect his life? This is the deeper meaning of this line. And look down one as far as I could. But the literal meaning, we can see the poet standing there and looking at the road, whether to walk this path or to walk the other one, to where it bent in the undergrowth. To where it bent in the undergrowth. So literally he saw the road as far as he could see, and suddenly the road bent, the road took a turn, and he could not see beyond that part because there was some sort of trees and shrubs that covered the further part of the road, and he could not see beyond that part. Again, here the metamorphical meaning is he could only calculate to a certain extent, and beyond that he could not say what his future holds for him. So the first stanza of the poem is full of doubts. The poet has doubts in his mind. At the same time, he knows that once he makes a choice, he would not be able to travel the same path again. Therefore, he is taking his time, standing there, pondering over it, literally looking at the road, which road is better for him to tread. See here, the roads are one road which everybody follows. It's like the herd mentality. Just because everybody is choosing science stream. Now you are in the ninth standard. This ninth and 10th class is very important in your life, because you have to decide which stream you'd like to choose in the future, whether you'd like to choose humanities, commerce, or science as your stream for your further studies. You have to decide. In the same way, the poet here is talking about his own journey. So before you make your choices, you better decide whether you want to follow the herd mentality, where everybody decides to take up science. Just because everybody wants to be an engineer, everybody wants to be a doctor, you too want to be an engineer or a doctor. Before making a choice, decide what is your own caliber, what is your own liking. Some people may be very good at sports and games. Why can't sports and game be a part of the career? Some people are very good at literature. Why can't they become authors? Some people are very good at analyzing things. Some people are very good at making things. So according to your ability, according to your inborn qualities, you must decide. See, I always say that we can always make a deer a very good deer or the best deer, but we cannot make a lion out of a deer. We cannot make a fish to climb up trees. We cannot make an eagle swim in deep waters. An eagle is meant to soar in the sky. A fish is meant to go to the depth of the sea and the ocean. So we have to decide according to our own caliber, according to our own natural instinct. What are we naturally made for? If you can judge your own self, then you are a successful person, no matter what you do. Remind me, I will tell you a very short story at the end of this poem about to be the best. But let me first continue the poem. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. The second stanza. Then took the other just as fair. What is the other? The other here is the other road. Road number 2. He saw road number 1. He saw the road very clear till a certain extent, and then suddenly the road took a sharp turn and he could not see beyond that because there was a dense growth of trees and shrubs. He could not see beyond that path. Then he looked at the other road, the second road, and he felt that the second road is also as good as the first one. There is hardly any difference between the first road and the second road. Why? then did the poet decide to follow the second road and not the first road? Because he says, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. The poet chooses the second road because he says that this second road was less traveled by. Everybody were traveling the first road. Perhaps the first road was a road which was sure shot a success. Everybody felt that if we take this road, we are going to succeed. So people followed that particular road and they avoided the second choice, the second road. Therefore, the author, the poet, says that he chose the second road because it was less trodden. Trodden means walked or travelled upon. And having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Why did he choose this? Because the road was grassy. See, the road which is travelled more. If we are travelling in a jungle, we won't get डांबर रोड, टार रोड, पक्का सड़क नहीं मिलेगा अपने को, कच्ची पगडंडियों पे चलना पड़ेगा. और पगडंडी पे कितनी घास उगी हुई है, इससे समझ में आता है कि इस रोड का कितना इस्तेमाल हुआ है. जितनी ज़्यादा घास होगी उतना कम इसका इस्तेमाल हुआ होगा. तो पोएट कहता है कि जो सेकेंड रोड है उसमें बहुत सारी घास थी, बहुत सारे पत्ते उसके ऊपर बिछे हुए थे, काफ़ी ग्रासी था. दैट इज़ वाई ही चूजेस द सेकेंड रोड बिकॉज इट वॉज ग्रासी एंड वॉन्टेड वे. दो एज फॉर दैट द पासिंग देयर हैड वोन देम रियली अबाउट द सेम. पोएट कहता है कि आज इस सड़क पर, इन दोनों सड़क पर किसी ने भी इस सड़क का इस्तेमाल नहीं किया. यानी पोएट यह आज पहले व्यक्ति थे जो इस दो राहे पर आकर रुक गए हैं. दोनों रास्ते के ऊपर आज के दिन कोई नहीं चला, मुसाफिर अकेला है. He is the lone traveler on that particular day when he has come to that junction. He has come to that point of the road where the road is diverging into two. He is the first person. How do we know that he is the first person? Because he says, though as for that the passing there had won them really about the same. Then the third stanza, and both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. तो पोएट कहता है कि उस दिन उस रोड के ऊपर, उस पगडंडियों के ऊपर किसी ने भी नहीं चला. क्यों? क्योंकि पत्ते जो गिरे थे वह वैसे के वैसे थे. पतझड़ का मौसम था. दोनों पगडंडियों के ऊपर, दोनों रास्तों के ऊपर बराबर हिस्से से पत्ते गिरे हुए हैं और किसी भी पत्ते के ऊपर कोई भी इंसान चलने का निशान नहीं था. यद्यपि कोई इंसान उसके ऊपर चलता है तो पत्ते मसल जाते हैं और मिट्टी से मिलकर वो पत्ते, जो ब्राउन पत्ते हैं, जो पीले पत्ते हैं, वो काले पड़ जाते हैं. लेकिन जब कवि यहाँ पर पहुँचता है तो पत्तों में कोई परिवर्तन नहीं होता है. पत्ते वैसे के वैसे होते हैं मानो इसके ऊपर कोई भी नहीं चला हो. एंड बोथ दैट मॉर्निंग इक्वली ले, इन लीव्स नो स्टेप हैड ट्रॉडन ब्लैक. ओ आई केप्ट द फर्स्ट फॉर अनदर डे. व्हाट डज द पोएट से? Which road did he choose? He has chosen the second road, the road which is less trodden, the road which is less traveled by. He kept the second road in his mind to travel today, and the first road he said that some other time he would come and use this road. He would travel this road some other time, but at the same time he had doubt in his mind. He had a doubt that he knows that he may not be able to come back on the same path again. He is he is certain in a way, because he knows that once he makes a choice, it will be very difficult for him to come back and rectify his choice, because he knows one road will lead to another road. It's a chain of action, and he would not be able to come back on this junction again. Yet, knowing how ways lead on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So, the last stanza, the fourth stanza is full of regret. According to me, this is my personal view. Everybody, as I told you, they have their own. They can come to their own conclusion. Nothing is wrong in literature. Your conclusion, you have to justify your answer. Why do you conclude? Why am I concluding that the poet is remorseful, the poet is regretting his choice? Because he said, I shall be telling this with a sigh. Sigh. The word sigh. Perhaps he would tell his children or his grandchildren, if I had not taken this path, if I had not chosen this career, perhaps I would have been a more successful person that I am today. Therefore he says, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, somewhere in the future. He says he would be telling this, that the choice that he has made was the wrong choice. Had he made a different choice, he would have been at a different level, at a different position in the society. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by. Less travelled by means the choice which many people do not make. Again, this is all about individualism. You are an individual. Your own identity is more important. I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So the poet says that he had taken a risk, and the difference that he sees today is because of the decision he had taken then when he was quite young, in his middle ages. He's talking about when he reaches his old age, and when he's talking to his children or his children's children, when he's talking to his grandchildren, he would tell them with a regret tone in his mind that the road I had chosen was full of risks. He chose the road which had challenges, which was not an easy one. He did not choose the road that is easy. So in the entire poem, what we read about the poet talking about the road that he has not taken. He doesn't talk about the road that he has taken. So all in all, the poem is a beautiful read. It is, you can see the rhyming scheme. We can see the poem has 4 stanzas, and each stanza has a 5-line. It's a 5-liner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-liner poem with 4 stanzas. Each stanza has 5 lines. Would and stood and could is rhyming. So it is A, B, A, C. Both and growth, sorry. So A, B, A, B. You know how to take out the rhyming scheme? You have to pick up the last word of each line. For example, wood is not rhyming with both. So the first line is A, the second line is B. The third line is A again. Why? Because wood is rhyming by stood and stood is rhyming by could. So again it is A, B, A. Both is rhyming with undergrowth. So A, B, A, B. That is how we pick up the rhyming scheme of the poem. Yeah, so talking about the story, see, the choice that you make should be the best one for yourself. Here's a short story about a samurai. Do you know samurais? The Chinese warriors, Chinese or Japanese warriors. These are the king's personal bodyguard. They are supposed to be highly skillful. So this is a story of a Chinese samurai and his student or his second fiddle, as we say na, chamcha or shishya. So the shishya, the student of this samurai, was highly impressed by his master, because his master was really a world class warrior. He wanted to be like his master, but the student was very young and yet to learn the art of warfare. But he was very good at serving his master. He was very good at preparing tea for the Chinese and the Japanese people. Tea serving is a ceremony. It's not just an ordinary thing like we stand at a particular tapri in a corner and chalo chai pite. It's not like that. Tea is a ceremony for the Chinese and the Japanese people. So the story of this samurai and his shishya, wherever this samurai went, he was revered, he was respected. People bowed to him and wished him. Nobody noticed this shishya, the student of this samurai. So he felt that I too would like people greeting me the same way as they greet my master. And his wish one day came true when his master had to go somewhere. His master had to leave this town and go to another town on an important venture assigned to him by the king, and he had to leave this shishya behind to manage the affairs. So the shishya, the student, thought that really, let's disguise myself as the master samurai. And he dressed himself up like the samurai. He disguised himself as the samurai and began to walk down the street of China, of the town where he lived. But to his bad luck, another samurai from the opposite direction of the street was walking towards him. And this other samurai was the master's enemy. And whenever there are two samurais belonging to different groups, there is generally a duel of war between two people. It's called a duel. So here the samurai had to face the real samurai. This shishya who had taken the guise of a samurai, he had to face a samurai who is very skillful. And now people, they gathered. They knew that the two samurais would fight with one another until the other person is dead. The person who is defeated either kills himself or is killed in the duel. Now this shishya, he did not know how to fight with a samurai sword, whereas the other samurai, who was really a master in his own skill. So these two of them, they met in the center of the street, and there was a crowd that was gathered there. See, if a samurai runs away, he would be a shame. He would bring shame not only to himself but also to the king that he is serving. So this shishya, he had no other option but to confront the other samurai. And he thought that if he runs away from there, his master would be defamed. So for the sake of his master, he had to face this samurai. But he thought of a clever plan. He told the other samurai that before we set upon a duel, I have an offer for you. And the offer is, let's have a cup of tea. Now, if a tea is served, it cannot be refused. In Japanese and in Chinese custom, tea is very reverent. They serve tea as if they are doing some religious deed, like we are doing arti or puja. In the same way, tea when it is served, so this other samurai could not refuse the offer. So tea was brought in the garden. A small table was set. You know, the Chinese people, they sit down, and there's a very small table, hardly 3 to 4 inch above the ground, and the tea was kept there. And this Shishya, who was an expert in preparing and serving tea, he went into the finest details of serving the tea. And the other samurai was watching him. And the thought came in the other samurai's mind that serving tea is not the work of a master warrior. And he had heard a lot about this master warrior, and he had come here to purposely challenge this master to a duel, to a fight. But when he saw this master serving tea in such a detailed manner, he wondered whether he would be capable to defeat the master in a duel. He said that when he can serve tea so perfectly, how perfect he might be in the work he is famed for. And so he decided in his mind, it is better not to fight. It is better not to challenge him. And there was a proposal of friendship from him. And both these samurais became friends. And both the kingdom became friends because of the samurais. The moral of the story is, be the best at whatever you do, no matter how simple it is. If you are a swimmer, be the best swimmer. If you are a cricketer, be the best cricketer. If you are an orator, be the best orator. If you are an engineer, be the best engineer. There should be no one who could replace you in your field of specialization. Be special in the thing that you do. So this is Tyrone signing off for today for Pillai Coaching Classes. Stay at home, stay safe, and enjoy yourself.